Hello, Sunny Bonani, 9:02 Central African Time. Welcome to
Hello,
Tier
Sunny
3
Bonani.
Action Breakaway Racing League. It is the penultimate race of the season. It looks like we have a fairly full-looking grid, or quite a sizable grid as things currently stand. The championship leader, Mercurial Caesar, is here to stake his claim on a possible automatic promotion to the second tier of Breakaway League Racing. Wandal Shezi and Mercurial Caesar are the two drivers battling it out to be the outright winners of the Tier 3 season, guaranteeing their participation, their progression straight up towards the second tier of the Breakaway Racing League stable. Simps RSA is one of the newer drivers in this tier, and he's here to also stake his claim. As we wait for the drivers to pretty much get ready and get racing, I'll give you a quick rundown of what this tier looks like as far as the standings are concerned. Wandal Shezi in the papaya orange colors of McLaren. He tops the table. He has a 2-point advantage from the driver closest to him. It's 107 points for Wandal Shezi, whereas this person, Mercurial Caesar, has 105 points. Skinny Gamer, who usually races in the colors of McLaren, is nowhere here to be seen. Skinny Gamer currently third in the standings on 91 points. And the top three drivers, of course, just to remind you, get automatically promoted to the second tier of Breakaway League Racing. The driver from the Seychelles, that being AJ Kumar, is currently fourth in the standings. And then this man, Sikle Nkwali, I think I did see Sikle earlier. Yes, Nkwali is currently fifth in the driver's standings from the Nucho. In P6. Billy Hendricks is here, was one of the first drivers to join this lobby, seventh in the driver's standings, and then Fana Finder is eighth. So as things currently stand, AJ, Nkwali, and the Nucho are the three drivers which are in those playoff spots, meaning they would go head to head with the drivers towards the playoff positions, I beg your pardon, in Tier 2. So there's a lot at stake. After tonight, they only have one more opportunity to do what needs to be done. Thank you for choosing Breakaway League Racing. This is the third tier of our league stable. And, we should be getting going pretty much in, very, very, very soon. It'll be just a one-shot qualification. We're in Bahrain, the Bahrain International Circuit, and they will have 14 laps to stake their claim on a possible win or a possible guarantee of enough points to either, go through to the playoffs or otherwise. So, yeah, it's going to be 14 laps around Bahrain. It's a track which is about 5.4 kilometers in length. Interestingly, the real-life lap record around the circuit still held by Pedro de la Rosa. A record of 131.447 was set all the way back in 2005. Yeah, it's one of the newer circuits as compared, of course, to the historic venues around the Grand Peak free calendar. Ground was broken for this circuit in December 2002. And they had a blank sandy canvas to work with, did the developers, and they fashioned this 5.4 kilometer track, which is technically demanding on your car, demands a lot as far as traction is concerned. And I do hope that we're going to be in for some beautiful, beautiful racing here in store. Smirch Django, sadly, it seems like SSL Mango is nowhere to be seen. Would have been great to see Mango in this field, but sadly, Mango is not around to stake their claim on a decent points finish. If Mango were to race today and on Wednesday, it would have been, pretty much enough to secure their place in the playoffs. But Mango is not here. Perhaps by some miracle, they could join during this one-shot qualification process. But if not, I think, Mango will just have to bide their time and come back next season. I'm pretty sure it won't be too long for even the likes of Mango to wait. Of course, the Tier 2 action is still underway on this here circuit. If you click on our YouTube icon, you can hop on to see the final stages of Tier 2. It seems Mango is on test week. That's quite sad. Well, Don Rabico, if that is the case, then I presume we won't be seeing Mango on Wednesday either, which is pretty sad, meaning that, pretty much that iconic showing that Mango put in Mexico last time out is the only Tier 3 action we will get to see of the talented driver, but we do hope to see them make a lot more appearances and climb their way up the Breakaway Racing League stable. We are now in qualifying, and this person, Mercurial Caesar, leads proceedings from Fanafinder and the Nucho. Your current top 3 Astings stand, but into the braking zone. Will we see a change of the order? No, Mercurial Caesar is still the standard. The Nucho following closely behind, and Cubzino currently holding that 3rd spot. Zule moves up and usurps Cubzino, who seems to have come unstuck coming towards turn 4. Cubzino struggling for pace, now 8. He was among the top 4, but now it's Mercurial Caesar versus the Nucho. And Sims RSA, who has been sensational since joining the 3rd tier, now finds himself in that 3rd quickest spot. Looks like Billy Hendricks may have had some issues, his car barely moving, and that is why Billy Hendricks has been disqualified from this quali session. So hopefully we'll see Billy Hendricks in the race proper, because we've already lost the Haas driver who has had a network disconnection. It's going to be Sims versus Mercurial Caesar towards the end of this quali session. Pole for Sims, so reckons Rabico. The Nucho retires from the session. He was fighting among the top runners here. So it's Mercurial versus Sims versus Fana and Wandao Shezi looking to make their mark on the final portion of this here track. Will that be the case for Sims getting it done towards the line? Let's see where Sims is relative to Mercurial. It looks like Mercurial's corner entry and exit was quicker, and he's going to cross the line for pole position at the start of this race. Sims is behind by a significant margin. It must be said, Wandao Chezi will start the race in P3 from Fanafinder in 4th. His Royal Highness King Straw will start in P5 from Inquali in 6th, S. Lindo in 7th, and then MO1 will start in the Haas in P8, and then we've had a couple of disqualifications towards the end of this one-shot qualification lap, and we should now be moving straight on towards the race proper. Thank you for joining us. It's Tier 3 action. Look at that gap, 1.370 seconds is the gap, is the margin. Mercurial Caesar at his Mercurial best. Mercurial Caesar, of course, is hoping to reclaim the lead of this championship, as Don Rabico remarks that person is absolutely rapid, so fast, and they did not have an answer for them. So, ML1 in the Haas is the last driver to put in a representative effort, 141.277. Of course, they had that network disconnection. S. Lindo will start 7th, and everybody from Billy Hendricks on had a DSQ, whether that was by virtue of standing still on track or track limits, or some drivers who may have DNF'd. Well, they compromised their positions to have a good place, a good grid position, I beg your pardon, at the race start. It is dusk out here in Secure, Bahrain International Circuit. Welcome. In less than 30 seconds, we will be going racing in the 3rd tier of Breakaway Racing League action. Thank you for joining us, folks. We'll see exactly how it'll all pan out as we look to conclude this here session. It seems that in Tier 2 action, they're currently on the penultimate lap. Sun Hashira has a 22-second lead towards the end of the Tier 2 action. Meanwhile, in Tier 3, it is 5 lights, the only time South Africa look forward to the lights going out. Mercurial Caesar is in the lead. Wandao Shezi is going to fight for his life to make sure he keeps his place among the top 3. Sims is going on the hunt versus Mercurial Caesar, but Sims buys his time. Wandao Shezi under attack. Billy Hendricks going off track, trying to get the overtake done, but Billy Hendricks falls off. Oh, look, and they made contact. Billy Hendricks goes spinning because his hyper-aggression. He came completely unstuck there. Billy Hendricks is now going to have to fight his way all the way from the back of the pack. His Royal Highness King Straw trying to chase this leading pack now. He's down at P7. Ooh, he has to make way for Inquali, who was on the attack. Look at this. Fanafinder versus Cubzino. Fanafinder pushes a little bit. Cubzino goes a little bit wide of the track there, but he manages to hang on to that P4 spot. Fanafinder in P5 as things currently stand. And absolutely breathless start. Cubzino going off the track in turn 8. On the exit of turn 8, there's a yellow flag, I think, behind these drivers. Here comes Fanafinder on the attack in the first of 14 laps here, and he keeps it together still. P5 still in the hunt, and Fanafinder is going to have to watch his back because Enquali is there within touching distance. Now, the battle for the race lead is Mercurial Caesar, who hangs on by a factor of about a second. That is the gap between P1 and P2. Simps versus Mercurial Caesar. Beautiful battling they've shown us throughout this season ever since Simps joined, and we do hope for some sensational on-track action between now and the end of proceedings. The top two, absolutely sensational. They've built a 2.6-second gap between themselves and the rest of the field. So that's a beautiful sense of pace that you get as far as the top runners are concerned. Wandal Shezi comes across the line, still third, no position change for him. Cubzino, the big winner of the race start, look at that, gaining 7 positions since the start of this race. Looks like Fanafinder and Enquali are on the verge of having a beautiful fight here. I beg your pardon, actually it's His Royal Highness King Straw. And Enquali, but as he comes out of turn number 2, he goes completely, in 6s and 7s, he spins off the track. That tire is overheating. His Royal Highness King Straw is going to find himself all the way at the back of the pack. And that huge mistake coming out of the second corner, costing King Straw dearly. And now Fanafinder looks to resume his battle versus Cubzino. He had the Alfa Romeo battle rattled. And into turn 8, again, Cubzino not enjoying this corner. For the second successive lap, Cubzino going completely wide in turn 8. But into 9 and 10, Fanafinder too late on the brakes, makes contact with Cubzino, forces him completely wide on the exit of turn 10, and they're going to resume that battle. And Fanafinder is using all of that battery going into turn 11, but he's just going to have to bide his time because he's not close enough to go on the attack at that particular point. The Nucho has gained 8 places since the start of this race. And with His Royal Highness King Straw spinning out, that was an extra position that he did not have to fight for. So 1.4 seconds behind Fanafinder is the Nucho. He's definitely got his work cut out for him as he looks to find himself in the reckoning for a decent race result. End of the beginning of the third lap, Mercurial Caesar still the standard, the fastest man on track, being chased by Simps. But that gap between the top two, sensational stuff by Mercurial Caesar. 3.5 seconds is the gap. Wandal Shezi a further 3 seconds back. So with each and every passing lap, the gap between the top 3 really starting to stretch and stretch. So quite significant there to watch is that battle. Fanafinder hoping to find his way into that P4 spot. Cubzino into turn 4 is definitely a lot more careful as far as throttle input is concerned. Fanafinder, will he have enough pace to go on to the attack once again by the time they go into turn 8? Ooh, through the S's, Fanafinder not exactly that quick. This time, Cubzino nails the apex of turn 8. So much better running there, much better line by Cubzino, who has found a semblance of confidence and a semblance of momentum there, particularly into turn 8, which he was not comfortable with at all. The Nucho has now caught up to the back of Fanafinder, and Fana might have taken too long to get this overtake down. The Nucho thought about going on a switcheroo. He does attack on the inside. A beautiful overtake by the Nucho into turn 11, and he is now into P5. Sensational stuff by the AlphaTauri driver, who now will have a golden opportunity to do what Fanafinder could not do in lap number 3, perhaps even 4 of 14. The Nucho, sensational stuff, clawing his way, picking them off one by one, and next up will be the Alfa Romeo of Cubzino. Yellow flag in sector 2. It looks like a slow-moving King Straw who brought out that yellow flag, so nothing to the day. The Nucho feints right, feints left, and side by side is Nucho. He has surpassed Cubzino, has the Nucho. Sensational stuff by the AlphaTauri driver. 10 places gained. No, Cubzino fights it back. He pushes the Nucho completely off the track, but Nucho hangs on. It's composure, it's traction. It is absolute nerves of steel by the Nucho, who fights back from being pushed all the way off the track and hangs on to P4. So Cubzino perhaps not quite keeping his cool and his calm demeanor at this particular point of the race. Really struggling. Simpson's embarrassing me, says Don Radical. We need Mango in this here session. The house driver of MO1 is dipping in and out of the session. He is having network troubles, network issues. Cubzino is now fighting for his life once again versus Fanafinder. So beautiful stuff from the Nucho up until this point, folks. It looks like Deep Saint all the way at the back of the pack has had to come in to the pits in lap number 4, and it's a fresh set of medium compound tires for Deep Safe at the back of the pack. Let's hop on board back now with Fana Finder. Kubzino, who's been fighting to keep Fana pretty much at bay, is now got a red light flashing, meaning he's down to 10% or less of his battery power. But guess what? Fana Finder is in the same boat, also struggling for battery power. ERS down to 3% for the driver who has today commandeered the Red Bull. Driver number 25, Fana Finder, wants to find his way further up this grid, but he's really struggling to dispatch the Alfa Romeo of Kubzino. Beautiful battle. It's been the battle of the day thus far in this race. He inches and tries to push as much as he can, side by side, wheel to wheel into turn 1. He's got that move done as a Fana Finder, but Kubzino will fight it back. Kubzino's going on the outside into turn 2, but he does not have enough in the bag. Or does he? Almost going wheel to wheel on the exit of number 3 as they rush now towards turn 4. Will Kubzino go for audacious dive? The answer is yes, and Kubzino gets a sensational move done on Fana Finder, but he's not going to be done yet because Fana Finder is going to fight immediately back as Zotal responds to this sensational midfield battle between Kubzino and Fana Finder, giving us all-out action pretty much from lap number 1. We'll catch up with that battle now, give you a sense of how the field looks. Stanley Mazzanti, 2.8 seconds behind that pair that we saw scrapping it out just now. Stanley Mazzanti, definitely one of the big beneficiaries of that battle. He was almost 4 seconds behind them before we saw that titanic battle between those two. And Quali, currently P8, is the Alpine driver trying to catch him to the back of Stanley Mazzanti. Billy Hendricks had that huge moment of aggression in lap number 1. He spun out and finds himself mired in that P9 spot, fighting for the last scraps of points. Zule, currently about 3.5 seconds behind Billy Hendricks, has to contend with S. Lindo, currently running in P11. His Royal Highness King Straw, that mistake coming out of turn 2 cost him dearly. He's 12 seconds behind S. Lindo. Deep Saint in deep trouble in P13 currently as this race is pretty much approaching its halfway mark. Back to the midfield, Fana Finder versus Kubzino, the battle of the day that they've given us. The all-out action. Let's go tier 3, says Zotal in the comment section. Fana Finder on the attack once again, breaks way late, and will he go too deep is the question. He goes on the curbs. Kubzino says, thank you very much. You were far too brave as far as your braking was concerned, and I didn't have to fight that hard. Now Fana Finder losing ground. He slipped out of Kubzino's DRS. Fana Finder perhaps a bit too aggressive there. Both these drivers draining all of their battery in this attempt to pretty much keep this fight alive. Look at Kubzino. He's down 11% worth of battery power. Fana Finder at 10%. Huge battling between those two. Mercurial Caesar has been sensational again as he leads this 6th, soon to be 7th of 14 laps around the Bahrain International Circuit, looking absolutely sensational as he's been unchallenged from the very beginning. Simps is going to go longer, having started on those medium compound tires. Currently P2, that gap, 6.2 seconds, is, gives you a sense of just how quick and clinical Mercurial Caesar is, because ever since Simps came in, he's shown that, he is no mug. Ever since Simps has come in, but today he is under the cosh as Mercurial Caesar finally comes into the pits at the halfway point of this 14-lap extravaganza. Tier 3 action, Mercurial Caesar will fit on his brand new set of medium compound tires and will go on the attack. Now, both of the top 2 drivers opted to go along initially, starting on those medium compound tires. Wandal Shezi has just exited on his brand new mediums, and into the pits finally comes Kubzino and Fana Finder. So this battle is going to resume. It's as you were, folks, between Kubzino and Fana Finder, who will hope to have charged up their batteries a little bit more to make this battle interesting between them two. They will exit in P7 and 8 respectively. Stanley Mazzanti, will he have enough in the bag to be able to give them a lot to think about? He's on fresh mediums as Stanley. He pitted a lap earlier than the likes of Fana Finder and Kubzino, so he may yet have a say in this midfield battle. Yes, Crash, sadly, Mango is apparently, in test week as far as his education, his academics are concerned, not joining us in this race today. His Royal Highness King Straw is now stone last at the back of the pack. That huge mistake costing His Royal Highness King Straw dearly, now mired in that P13 spot. Ooh, going completely off the track is King Straw on the exit of turn 1. So those cold tires costing King Straw that first apex of this here circuit. Simps leads proceedings as he will begin the 8th of 14 laps. 6.5, or rather almost 7 seconds behind, is the Nucho, who has really been sensational since the start. Look at that. The Nucho starting 12 places further back from where he currently is. So it's been beautiful stuff by the Nucho thus far. As you can see, Simps, Nucho, Enquali, and Billy Hendricks, the only drivers yet to pit. And as I say that, Enquali in the Alpine comes into the pits to then be surpassed by Billy, who becomes the just one of 3 drivers that have yet to come into the pits. Well. The Nucho, 7 seconds behind the race leader, Mercurial Caesar, has already stopped, it must be said. So it's advantage Mercurial. Definitely in the net lead of this race, which is definitely familiar territory for this Alfa Romeo driver who has been sensational since joining the 3rd tier of Breakaway League Racing. So that's the lay of the land, folks. Battles pretty much all over the grid, the latest of which is between Satellite Mazzanti, Fana Finder, and Cubzino. We saw Fana struggle to overtake Cubzino earlier on in this race, and then the Nucho arrived on the scene and dispatched of both those drivers in quick succession. Will Satellite Mazzanti take a leaf out of the Nucho's book and do exactly that, and perhaps show Fana Finder how it's done? Well, he will not have too many opportunities. Oh, Simps gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. I think perhaps that's his own personal settings, because pit lane speed limit penalties, I think, as far as I remember, don't apply in Tier 3. So Simps may still be safe. Simps chose to go long on those mediums. He now comes onto a set of soft compound tires. Will not worry too much about that time penalty. I'm pretty sure it can and will be removed when this race result is reviewed. Simps comes out onto the pits. He's P2 and now 6.5 seconds behind the race leader, which has gone back to Mercurial Caesar. Satellite Mazzanti versus the midfield pair of Fana Finder and Cubzino, as these guys now surpass Billy Hendricks, who is in the pit. Satellite Mazzanti close, but no cigar as far as that potential overtake is concerned. Look at that! Oh, Fana Finder on the inside. Cubzino came completely off stuck. He was off track, was Cubzino, coming on the exit of turn 2, but he's trying to go ultra defensive. Fana Finder on the inside. It's a 3-way battle. Oh, look at that! Look at that! It's Fana Finder, who seemed to got the move done, but he went completely wide on the exit of turn 4, and now he loses 1 place. Satellite Mazzanti is now the meat in the sandwich between Fana Finder and Cubzino. Oh, Fana Finder seemed to have had the most epic of dive bombs, but sadly got that entrance into turn 4 completely wrong. And now he may yet be the loser of this 3-way midfield battle. On board with Fana Finder we go. Once again, look at that battery. He's used up so much of his battery power as Fana Finder in this attempt to stay in touch. Fana Finder, Cubzino being not so careful with their battery usage. Satellite Mazzanti thought of going for it on the inside of turn number 11, but he bides his time to Satellite Mazzanti. He's much more clinical as far as his racing line and being tied to the apex is concerned. So Satellite Mazzanti on the inside, on the exit of 13. It's wheel-to-wheel racing by Satellite Mazzanti versus Cubzino, and he seems to have got it done. Absolutely sensational stuff by the more experienced Satellite Mazzanti, who now moves up to P5 in lap number 10 of 14. So again, Satellite Mazzanti shows Fana Finder that is how it's done. Exactly the way Nucho did a couple of laps earlier. And now Fana Finder versus Cubzino is a battle which is going to go on. It's been raging as this battle. Fana Finder, braver, dive bomb on the inside of Cubzino. It's wheel-to-wheel contact, and Cubzino comes off second best, racking up a 3-second time penalty on top of that. And Fana Finder said, I will not be defeated this time around. That contact costing Cubzino dearly, who will be livid with that, but well, he's going to have to regain composure, because on the attack is Enquali behind him. Cubzino really in a terrible situation there. Simps is 6.5 seconds behind the race leader, Mercurial Caesar, who has been sensational since the start of this race. Just 4 more laps of racing to go. Simps, 6.5 seconds behind. The Nucho, a further 10.4 seconds behind. To give you a sense of the gap between Mercurial Caesar and the rest of the grid, look at that. The Nucho is in the podium places, but that gap to the leader, 16, almost 17 full seconds. But it may yet be shrinking because the Nucho did fit a fresh set of soft compound tires. So Nucho opting to go long on mediums initially and to fit a set of soft compound tires on towards his final stint. And Mercurial Caesar have already crossed the line to begin the 11th of 14 total laps. Zotal marveling at the pace of this man, Mercurial Caesar, who has pretty much been peerless. It would have been so sensational to see Mercurial Caesar versus Mango had both drivers been racing in Mexico last time out, but it seems, well, the last laugh, the final word in Bahrain will go towards Mercurial Caesar as this time penalty by Simps will definitely count. He racked up a 3-second time penalty, and Simps on the exit of turn 8 coming completely unstuck. And he manages to regain composure and has now fallen even further behind, losing a couple of seconds to Mercurial Caesar courtesy of that mistake. Mercurial did say he's got the pace to be in Tier 1. So says Caboza. And, well, he is backed up by the likes of Crash in the comment section. So one by one, these absolutely sensational talents keep on knocking on the door of the league. And as they join, well, every tier just gets more and more competitive, particularly tiers 2 and 1. It will be absolutely, well, brilliant to see what Mercurial Caesar can do in the higher tiers among a higher caliber of driver. King Straw versus Deep Saint is a battle taking place towards the back of the pack. His Royal Highness, King Straw, seemed to have had a moment there. That's how he was just overtaken by Deep Saint. So His Royal Highness not having such a great time out here in Bahrain. A day to forget for the veteran driver. Now, the quickest man on track still, despite lower fuel levels for the drivers who opted to come onto the soft tires later, Mercurial Caesar is still the standard. And look at that, 130.362 is the quickest lap that we have seen today. I think the closest driver as far as pace is concerned is Simps, who is, well, more than a full second slower than Mercurial Caesar. So, yeah, really getting a sense of just how sensational the standards are as far as Mercurial is concerned. Mango! SSL Mango, freshly squeezed the fastest laps last time out. He's in the comment section. It's good to see you, Mango. Would have been so great to see you racing among these guys. Oh, King Straw! Completely unchallenged at the back of the pack, has a huge moment on the exit of 11. And is that a lost wing for His Royal Highness King Straw? Oh man, not looking good. His Royal Highness King Straw in 6s and 7s. Languishing down in P13, he has been lapped as King Straw by Mercurial Caesar in lap number 12. And here comes Simps on the verge of lapping His Royal Highness King Straw before he begins lap number 13. And it seems His Royal Highness King Straw is now coming into the pits. And I do wonder if that will be King Straw's complete, yeah, that is King Straw waving the white flag, saying that is my day, my race pretty much done. Nightmare day for King Straw in lap 13, retiring his car. Mercurial Caesar, quickest person on track as we have seen today up until this point. 6.6 seconds ahead of Simps, the Nucho. 8.5 seconds behind the P2 running Simps. Wandal Shezi is in P4. Stanley Mazansi did well to claw his way up the pack. P5 for him. Thana Finder, we saw that beautiful battle between himself and Cubsino, currently running P6, ahead of the Alfa Romeo driver who was dispatched a little bit earlier on. And Quali has been hoping to have his say versus Cubsino, but has definitely fallen behind by a couple of seconds. Billy Hendricks showed super stern aggression earlier on, but having spun out so early, it really cost him major points here today. He's currently P9. Zule is P10, will claim the last of the 10 points if he hangs on to that P10 spot. It's a big if because he is under attack from none other than S. Lindo, who attacks turn 4 and nailed the apex. On board now with Lindo, the Mercedes driver hunting down the P10 running Zule in lap 13 of 14 here. Welcome if you've just joined us. The race leader, Mercurial Caesar, has just begun the final lap of 14. Oh, and Lindo comes unstuck on the exit of turn 8, losing all that ground, all that momentum. Lindo was on the verge of taking advantage of Zule, possibly by DRS, but the exit and the entry actually of turn 8 really cost him dearly. Now, a second and a half behind Zule is Lindo, fighting for that 10th spot and the final place in this here race. Final points, I beg your pardon. Deep Saint in deep trouble. P12 currently, and Mercurial Caesar is now making his way across the final part of the track. What a day it has been for the sensational Alfa Romeo driver, now making his way towards turn 10 in the second sector. Beautiful racing, beautiful day by him. It looks like Mercurial Caesar is on the verge of overtaking the P12 running Deep Saint. So he had already dispatched of the likes of His Royal Highness King Straw, and next up is Deep Saint, who now exits turn 13 and goes wide, does Deep Saint. And here comes Mercurial Caesar to make it a total 2 drivers lapped towards the end of proceedings here. Guys, remember to like the stream if you have not already, as we now conclude this Tier 3 racing action. He has been peerless, has Mercurial Caesar. Absolutely sensational result will come across the line in P1, winning the Bahrain Grand Prix. And it's another race win for the absolutely sensational driver, well and truly, surely on his way to the top second tier. Oh, Sims, huge mistake at the death here. At the end, it may have cost him a podium place. He spun out, did Sims, at the final corner, and Wendell Chesney could be in with a shout here. Venuccio comes home, P2 for him, and Sims, despite the time penalty, will thank his lucky stars that Wendell Chesney was not close to getting that. But as I say that, Wendell Chesney across the line gets that P3 spot. It may yet be looked at because that 5-second time penalty that Sims racked up may not apply here. Satellite Mazzanti will come home, P5, Fana Finder, P6. What a battle he had versus Cabzino, who now crosses the line for the P7 spot. And Quali will bring it home for Team Alpine in 8th place. Billy Hendricks will come across the line in P9, and Zule will claim the 10th spot and the last of the available points as Lindo in 11th. Deep Saint in P12. Wrapping up the proceedings out here at the Bahrain International Circuit. This was the penultimate race of the season, folks. So do make sure you tune in on Wednesday to see how the Tier 3 pack fares in their battle to make sure that they secure their progression up to the second tier of Breakaway League Racing. Man, oh man, oh man. We also have some Tier 1 action tomorrow from 7:30 Central African time. So make sure that you tune in for that to join in and see exactly how the top tier of Breakaway League Racing will fare in race number 15. Remember, just one more race remaining for Tier 3. That will take place on Wednesday, and we will crown the champion of this tier. So thank you very much, folks, for joining us. Catching up with the last of your comments. Mango was joining us in the comment section saying he forgot it was race day. Who lied to us? Mango, some people were telling us you had a test. Hopefully we'll see Mango in the final race of the season. Oh man, it would have been so great to see Mango. Percy M. Daka says you could enter and still win. And Don Rabico says, look at our boy Sims embarrassing us. So not quite impressed with Don Rabico earlier on. And Al Cabozo was responding to that driver who got lapped a little bit earlier on. So thank you, Rabico. Thank you, Mango, Zotal, and Gawako, D-Wax Crash, and Caboza as well as Mr. Mdaka in the comment section. We will see all of you for Tier 1 racing action on this here channel tomorrow, 7:30 Central African time. Thank you, and good night. There it is, folks, before I dip off. Fastest man on track, Mercurial Caesar from Nuccio, from Wendell Chesney, and Simps. Sensational racing. Thank you, and good night.